Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Red Sea podcast. Welcome back to another game recap as we end the footballing season, and welcome back to what, sadly at least, feels like a usual by now. What feels like a very underwhelming normality in the Super League this season for Olympiacos, and what we hoped, even for a bit, wouldn't be the case, at least in ending the season off. But here we are again. Now, I won't waste any of your time. Let me actually, you all know how I make banners to keep up with everything and help you all keep up with everything. For those of you that are watching on video, that is, but let me actually put up one more banner before we get into it. And as we get into it, sadly, this is the mode we're in now. Like, there is no other real way to put it, I think. We may not be mathematically out of the title, but if it wasn't considered over before PAOK, it really is now. I don't think there is a singular person that believes in the title anymore, not even the most optimistic people that really wanted to hold on to one last piece of hope, especially after the derby victory in Leoforos. I feel like we've all crashed down back to reality after that and realized that you give what you get, as I wrote yesterday on that mini article that I wrote on the socials. And the matter of fact is that Olympiacos did not deserve to win the league this season. Olympiacos has, I'm pretty sure, the worst derby record out of the four. Do correct me on that if I'm wrong. I'm torn between us and Pana, but I think we have a worse record. And honestly, Olympiacos just didn't play championship football in the Super League. And as much as I would love to say that that confuses me, given what we did in the Champions League, of course, it really feels like a different season. But we did return to the Champions League after so long this season, played some out of our minds football, qualified with a historic 3 out of 3 to end out the league phase and make it to the knockouts, where we, of course, got knocked out by Leverkusen. And then you look back at the season that we've had in the Super League, and you look at points lost by teams like Kifisia, points lost by teams like AL, and you look at that and you say, yeah, okay, we struggled with those teams last season as well. But last season we won the double. And then you look at the derbies and you see that we have 2 wins throughout the entire season. We have 2 derby wins in God knows how many games. And even those proved to be nothing, because as we saw with a game up in Thessaloniki, we once again crumbled. We crumbled given the circumstances, we crumbled given what we needed to do, and given what happened afterwards, with Pana actually stealing a point from AEK, it makes our loss even worse. Because if we did actually do ourselves some justice in this game, because, and you can crucify me all you want for this, the first half wasn't bad. We had a very good attacking performance up until like the 60th. We were good. We genuinely were good going forward. But sadly, the defensive end didn't do us any justice. As of course, while we ended the first half controlling the game, we equalized and we'll get into the goals and stuff. We really ended the first half with momentum completely on our side, and a PAOK that looked lost, that looked miserable after El Khabir's goal. And then we just come out of the second half and we look, yeah, we keep momentum up until, let me actually see the goal itself, because I forgot when PAOK actually scored. PAOK scored in the 55th, yes. We keep momentum, we lean into the momentum we gained, and we try and go for it. And then the counter happens. And then the counter happens, and Kostadelias completely embarrasses our defense, setting up Andrija Zivkovic for one of the easiest goals of his life, arguably, given that Francisco Ortega somehow, some way, decided it would be better to three-man mark Kostadelias and leave his man completely alone in the box. And then, 10 minutes after, Yermeyev seals the deal with another just completely chaotic mess at the back. And then just, it was 35 minutes of absolutely nothing. Another just show of how demoralized Olympiacos is this season. Another show of how predictable Olympiacos is this season, because I've been yelling about it and I will even more. And it's basically the point I was leaning towards. Yeah, we struggled with the smaller teams last season as well, because they played with a low block. They let us keep possession. And we didn't know what to do with it most of the time. But we had players with actual Olympiacos DNA to finish chances, get us over the line. Some of those players are here, some of those players aren't. But this season, we went into it with a worse squad, but the same plan. And people adapted. The others adapted. PAOK adapted. Pana adapted. AEK adapted. We're predictable. And that's cost us a lot of results. And that's ultimately cost us both the cup and the league. Which is sad in a way, because this team really didn't deserve this. Because if you look at what the same team did in Europe, you'd think they'd contend. At least, you'd think they'd contend. And I'm sorry again, because I really don't want to be disrespectful. I don't. But there are two people in this team that look like they give a shit right now. There are 2-3 people in this team that look like they care. There is no one, almost no one, that can rally the team. And the prime example was the game we just saw. We go down under very dodgy circumstances. And then we equalize. And instead of building on that momentum, we concede 10 minutes after the half. I am keeping one exception out of this game, a singular exception, and that's Konstantinos Zoulakis. He was at fault for the third goal. I can't deny that he was at fault for the third goal, even though, again, he needed to cover for his left back that was nowhere to be found for a second goal in a row. But he is at fault. But aside from that, and again, crucify me if you wanna, it could have been 5 if it wasn't for Zoulakis. We could have genuinely been looking at a 5-1 with how the game went. In the end, that is. A shame I can't post photos in this chat. Could have been a movie in here, a very sad one, but it is what it is. For any photos that you do want to have up, do send them to me. Because I can't put up photos, and you, more than a lot of people, know that I really don't care about putting up stuff. So do send them to me. Second half capitulation. Yes and no. I know you didn't watch the game, and for anyone that didn't watch the game, it really could look like a second half capitulation. But it really was just problems being exposed once again, as I said. We had a very, very good performance, but the problems were there. And PAOK hit those problems until they struck gold eventually. I am seeing the comment. I'll get to Ortega, but I want to talk more generally. First, as we slowly but surely get into the game. We didn't help ourselves. We really didn't help ourselves because, the whole of Greece knows that that first goal shouldn't have counted. It's the same goal as the one that got disallowed back at the AEK game, the late winner of Yusuf Yazici, who, by the way, is nowhere to be found again, and that's something I will get into as well, because we have a lot to talk about. That first goal shouldn't have counted. It's as simple as that. It was a blatant offside. But sadly, we have to move on. And as I said, we equalized. But we made it. So heading into the second half, we made it so we can't even talk about the offside. Really? I know the ref was horrendous in general. I can also point out a foul on Costinha that was never just Costinha just being yanked down in a foul, never really just being talked about. The ref was horrific. But the problems that lie in this team can't be excused by referee. That's why we conceded 2 more after having the momentum on our side. That's exactly why we conceded 2 more. And again, as I said, we would have been 3 points behind if we did the bare minimum and got a win against a PAOK that just lost the cup to Offi. A PAOK that's not only demoralized, a PAOK that's lost, that was lost, a PAOK that's not lost anymore, a PAOK that was lost, a PAOK that would have been third. Let's not even talk about what I did. If we beat PAOK, we not only just completely throw them into a spiral, but we more or less secure second place and Champions League football. Because if you beat PAOK in Tuba, there's no way they come here and win. So if, at worst, my original prediction came through, which now really seems delusional, and you do get 4 points against PAOK, you would have, first of all, secured Champions League football, at least Champions League qualifier, that is, because I still believe that Olympiacos is the only team that can get Champions League from the league path. I really don't see any other team getting Champions League from the league path. And especially if we go on to the scenario that I think we're heading towards, and PAOK gets second and Olympiacos get third, I'm sorry, and I really can't even talk bad about PAOK given they have ruined us this season. That's a wasted Champions League spot. Because any day of the week, and you can clip this, you can do whatever, PAOK don't get Champions League from the league path. They get Europa, which is still very good for Greece itself, but that's a wasted Champions League spot. And we get Europa as well, hopefully. I would think we get Europa, my God. And I lose my train of thought with all of this so easily. I lose my train of thought with all of this so easily because I keep thinking about what this team could have done. Like, even yesterday, you're in a league where you're showing your worst self in 3 years. And they've not sealed the title yet. You're still mathematically in it. They're giving you chances. And you're not taking them. You refuse to take them. PAOK was giving us the game. It was mistake after mistake after chance. And we didn't take it. Just like we haven't taken a million chances. Just like we haven't taken a million chances this season. And then, speaking of PAOK giving us something, Ike wanted to give us the league as well. And we didn't take it. And now, instead of Ike having someone 3 behind them, they just capitulated against Pana a 10-man Pana, and they're still at a +6. AEK could be crowned champions next match day. The championship which they should have sealed a while ago. But again, that comes back to my point. You're at your worst self amongst a bunch of mediocrity. Amongst a bunch of mediocrity. And you've resurrected them all. You've given AEK confidence that they can lift the league. You've given PAOK something to keep from their 100 years, because at best they'll get second. And you've even let Pana beat you. Not in the playoffs, but you've even let Pana beat you. You gave Pana playoff football with that loss at the end of the regular. You've given everyone everything. And the chances you should have taken, you didn't. Because this team is symbolic in a way it really shouldn't be. It's like Lazarus, 33 CE colorized. My God. This comment could be taken two ways, actually, with what happened yesterday. But for the second way that this comment could be taken, I have a whole different segment at the end of the show. So do stick around. What do you think went wrong yesterday? What went right? What went right? What went wrong yesterday is exactly what has gone wrong throughout the entirety of the season. It's what I've been talking about for the past 25 minutes. We didn't show up to play a derby. We didn't show up with a plan. We show up with the same predictability, even though we finally saw something different 11-wise for the past 2 games. The plan's the same. And even though we finally are seeing more direct attack, like I've been screaming about for the past months, ever since the season started, we're sadly still so very predictable. We have fullbacks that are very subpar and very inconsistent. We have a defense that has to, we have 2 center backs that have to cover an entire back line. Hence, they often lose their position. Hence, it leads to their mistakes as well. We have a very inconsistent midfield, which I'm sorry we lost that midfield battle yesterday. I'm sorry, but we lost it. You have 2 wingers that tried their best. Like, I've said this before, I've debated that Zenson is a much better player than people give him credit for, and in my opinion, he showed that again. But when your other winger has to be a fullback, and that's no disrespect to Roddy, I'm the first person that said that he should be playing winger now with how stuff is going. There's something wrong with your winger. And then you have El Kabi, who is basically your only consistent attacking threat of the season. And even through that, even he's not having his best season. And I will actually throw out a question to all of you. And I want you to either answer now, whether you're watching later, whether this is a clip, anything. Comments. I really don't want to just push the division I'm against that. Do you think it's a quality issue of the squad? Or do you think it's underperformance? Because I think it's underperformance. And I'm not pushing that on McDeely Bar. I'm not pushing that on anyone. We'll get to those talks as well. But people are just subpar. They're below their standards. Almost everybody in this squad isn't playing up to what they could, to the level they should. Whether that's because age caught up to them, whether that's because they're simply not good enough even at their best, or whether that's because they're having a bad season. There's very few players that actually played like themselves this season. And that hurt Olympiacos a lot. That doesn't take away that the squad planning in the summer and in January was absolute BS. That doesn't take away that the planning, with some exceptions, maybe went the complete opposite direction of how it should have gone. And that doesn't take away the fact that the squad doesn't have the depth we thought it did. If you go back a year ago, not a year ago, if you go back to the preseason shows in like August, September, even in the start of the season, both me and Gav said that on paper, this squad looked amazing. Because it did. On paper, this squad looked amazing. Like, even before Pneumor left, I remember us specifically talking about the wingers and talking about how good the wingers were on paper. And now we're at the end of the season. And we're talking about the wingers, for example. I don't want to dig into them. But it's a main example of what we praised and what we saw. And the fullbacks are the same thing. 4 fullbacks that, as fullbacks, were anything but reliable. Roddy going forward is still the good old Roddy we know and love. But I've said this before and I'll sound like a broken record and I'll say it again and again and again. This man needed to be a winger and we needed to have gotten another right back behind him. It's a disappointing situation to be in. It's not unpredictable. It's not sad. But it's very disappointing. And it's very scary looking forward. It's very scary in a lot of aspects. This is an interesting one. Do you believe that the absence of assistant coach Silaidopoulos is responsible for the lack of a plan you are referring to? I'll actually leave that up. No. I love Coach Silaidopoulos. I've said this many times. I've sung his praises many times. Even though he got a lot of criticism to begin with, I think he's doing a great job in Liga Portugal. I think he's a coach for the future. I really do. I really do believe in him. And I really do believe in him, not necessarily for the Olympiacos job, even though I would want him eventually. Even if he takes up the Ethniki job, I'll still believe in him. But the plan was what it was. And that hasn't changed last season, and perhaps that's the problem, because it's not the absence of a plan. That's not the point I've been trying to make. The plan is there. The plan was there. It's the inability to change the plan. It's why we've become so predictable, because we're doing the same things with a worse performing squad. And while the others got better and learned, we basically stayed stale, which has led to this. So no, I don't think that's the reason. I don't think that's the reason at all, actually. And I want to get back into the game, bring it back, and talk about a specific thing a bit more. And it's this. And I want to read you off some stats. Of course, our expected goals, which is a bit of a BS meter, but I do want to tie it with the chances, were 2.3. Of course, I remind that the game ended 3-1. We had 17 total chances, 5 on target, with 4 big chances created. And what did we do with them? Nothing. Of course, 5 of them were blocked. We missed, in my opinion, one of the worst misses I've seen Ayub El-Kabi have in his career. That header at the start. Pavlenka made an unbelievable save in that Chiquinho turned the shot at the second half. Chiquinho himself missed another sitter to begin the first half on that one-on-one. And yeah, it's just another same old story of countless chances wasted and zero effectiveness in front of goal, which has also been a problem. This has also been a main issue of the season. It's not, we're either not creating or not scoring. And that's a Greek phrase called pros kremos και πίσω ρέμα. It's the cliff. And the cliff, basically. It's a loss scenario. We've gone from 50-something crosses and 3 successful and barely any shot to once again having 17 shots, sending 5 on target, having unbelievable chances missed, and losing by 2. This team has an adaptability problem, and this team has an effectiveness problem. And that's not only on the coach, it's on the players as well. And to slowly dip into Borini, Balotelli, and Lambert, my God, what a memory. At one point, I thought that in our attack we had the Borini, Balotelli, and Lambert trio. I don't know if that's trauma. And for those of you that don't know, I do have a special place in my heart. Of course, not near Olympiacos, but I do have a special place in my heart for Liverpool as well. And God, that's a comment. That's a comment. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. To get slowly to dip our toes into the conversation, and that's been causing the wars. That's causing a civil war amongst Olympiacos fans. Who's to blame? Who's to blame. I'm gonna take the stance I've taken all season. I'm gonna take the stance confidently, and I'm open to any discussions in the comment or messages or anything. Of course, you'll find whatever you need link-wise in the description. Everyone has their piece of the puzzle to take. We have the ownership that made some horrific choices transfer-wise, and that doesn't only go to Marinakis. It goes to the people around him as well, because for some people, for some reason, the people around Marinakis never get mentioned. It's just him. And it's not just him. It's not just the president that needs to take the blame. It's everyone. It's everyone around him. It's the director. It's everyone. That's a big piece of the puzzle. Both the ins and outs that were very, very wrong. The coach, I love him. And I really, again, my opinion on the stance that has sparked another nuke amongst the fan base. I'm not even willing to discuss. Of course, I'm willing to discuss, but my opinion won't change. I don't see any reason why Jose Luis Mendilibar should be sacked in the summer. I really don't. I think that Marinakis and co, like Kovacevic, Karembe and stuff, need to sit down with Mendy, his people, and they need to just drop a bomb to nuke it. They need to just wipe it clean. Planning, squad, transfers, everything. They need to just erase what's on the whiteboard and start again. I don't see a universe in which we just snap the fingers, send Mendy off, and another coach comes in and everything's fixed. Could I be wrong on that? Yes. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is the correct decision. People know that more than me. But in my opinion, and again, I'm open to discussion, I don't think Mendilibar should go. Now, if everything happens in the summer and the September month comes and the squad's not able to just be watched even, yeah, Mendy goes. That's not negotiable. But I see no reason to sack him because of this season. It just needs to be a certainty from both ends that they'll work as a one, transfer-wise, that Mendilibar will push to get his people, and Marinakis and the rest of the ownership will push to bring the correct people in. Like, there has to be a middle ground, because both one side and the other know football. Know the uttermost football. And I do truly believe that both sides have a good of Olympiacos as a goal. Stuff is just being done very wrong. And if that middle ground is reached, then they need to push on as a one. That's my opinion. Then, of course, but very minor exceptions, the players. The underperforming players. Some people needed to go. Not needed past tense to go, but we hang on to them. Some people need to go now because they're simply not good enough. And all of those people don't need to be replaced. They need to be upgraded. We're not going to talk about the keep sell loan now because I want to do that with Gav, ideally, and I want the season to be over for that to happen, so we can have everything on our plate and then talk. But to just throw in a slight bone to the conversation, in my opinion, and I hope that that's where it's heading, from the men's squad, you need to keep like 5 people. The rest need to go. The rest need to be nuked and go. Whether that would be a sale, whether that would be a contract termination, whether that would be a loan, they need to go. As the FTV said, it's time to go. And there needs to be basically a total rebuild from every aspect. Because we can't see the same next season. I'm grateful to a lot of the players that are in the squad now because of what they gave us, because of we are talking about the core of the Conference League. And it is sad to talk about this, but a lot of them need to go. It's gotten to the point where a lot of them need to move on, and we need to move on from them. It's best for both parties. And I really do hope that's the way the summer goes, because I'm fearful for next season. And of course, it's not just people that need to be brought in. It's people that need to be called up as well. And we've said the names many times before, and we'll say them as time goes on as well. There is so many people in the B team. There is so many people in the under-19s. And dare I say, in the under-17s as well. Of course, Georgios is a name that I've mentioned many times. Hamza, Kolokotronis, Karkatsalis, Iachi. The list can go on and on and on and on. There needs to be a lot of collabs in pre-season. I'm not saying we should be keeping a lot of them, but there needs to be a lot of collabs in this pre-season, and people need to be tested. Because a lot of them are very ready for the first team. In my opinion, again, in my humble opinion, I'm up for discussion in these aspects. But in my opinion, a lot of them are very ready. And a lot of them can back up the people that need to stay here and the people that will come in. What changes do you believe should be made to the roster this summer? I feel like I answered your question before I saw the comment. I don't want to get into specifics right now because I do want to do this with all of you, and Gav, it should probably be a different episode in and of itself, because I feel like a keep sell loan will take about an hour with how this season has gone. So that will come. That's planned. So don't worry about that. Now, another question towards all of you before I get into what happened yesterday. What do you think realistically Olympiacos can do this season? With 3 games left, where do you think Olympiacos will end up? And not only where do you think Olympiacos will end up, what do you think will be our European competition next season? Because I'm torn. I'm really torn. I don't know if I can answer this right now. It's really looking like Europa. It really is. But I am keeping some slight hope that we will still beat PAOK in the Karaiskakis and get second place secured at least. And then we'll see. Mind you, again, we talked about this at the start of the episode, mathematically nothing's over. But realistically, I think I just demolish Pana. In the Papa Arena, I think in the Hagia Sophia, I just win comfortably. And that will more or less be it. So I genuinely would hope to see us in second place and fight for Champions League next season. And I do think that's still the best case scenario. But I'm slowly but surely leaning towards a third place finish, sadly. But we'll see. Everything can change. And I'm really, really hoping we do beat PAOK next match day, and I'm really, really hoping that we do go on and secure a second place, because this team does not deserve to finish third. This team does not deserve to finish third. Even with how everything's going, this team is not the third best in the league. And I do truly believe that. But do tell in the comments, I believe that from the third place, we can still perform on the and finish third. My God. God. Can't even blame you all for anything, for being pessimistic and everything. I'm just trying to keep some hope up for at least the best case scenario to happen. And now, 50 minutes in, and I'm probably having to transition into the most chaotic statement that I would in this show. Game-wise, that's about it. Game-wise, I feel like I don't have anything else to talk about. God knows I have a lot to talk about with this. Like, what is happening? Like, answer me genuinely, what is happening between genuine Olympiacos fans? Like, why are we doing this to ourselves? I get the pessimism. I get the criticism. It's needed more than ever. But why can't people discuss anymore? I got a comment earlier, and I really second that more and more as time goes on. Olympiacos has the best, worst fans. And I second that so much, because I do believe that we're some of the best fans in Europe. I'll even stretch it to the world. I do believe that we have some of the best fans, create some of the best atmospheres, have the most passion and love for the team. But when stuff gets bad, it gets bad. When stuff gets bad, it gets bad. Toxicity, disagreements, and not disagreements discussion-wise, just angry disagreements, hostile disagreements. People going at each other's throats just for expressing an opinion. Just that Greek fan, just ultra hate. That switch being flipped every time something goes wrong. We've seen it in basketball, now we're seeing it in football. Why is this happening? Why can't we stick together and talk about a team that's struggling more than it has in years that have passed? And talk about it and talk about what's wrong like humans. Why are we dividing ourselves into, oh, I'm pro Marinakis, I'm pro Medilibar, I'm pro this, pro that. Oh no, this player needs to go. Oh no, he needs to go. Oh, he's useless and stuff like that. Why can't we realize that we need to be pro Olympiacos? Above all, we need to look for the team's success, not against. And I will stand by this phrase forever that Olympiacos is the people. We are, to use the BC's hashtag, we literally are Olympiacos. The shield of Olympiacos, the power of Olympiacos, and so on and so forth. So if we're divided, whether it's amongst ourselves, by toxic media, by people that want to do exactly that, because mind you, it's not just stupid opinions on social media and on media in general, it's people that are paid to divide. And falling for it for some reason. Olympiacos will always win as one. And we need to hope that unity is inside the club and outside of it, because that's the only way we'll go forward. And when you see stuff like what happened with Christodoulos, for example, where a Nike reporter, the reporter in many quotes, you know who I'm talking about, I don't need to mention any names, just went at him expressing something, and he said, oh, who are you and what do you know? A reporter that's barely won, going at a 20-year veteran footballer, Lazaros Christodoulos, asking who you are. And what do you know about football and stuff? But Lazaros Christodoulos, one of the best wingers we've seen, one of the best wingers of his generation. Jokes aside for Lazarus and stuff, there is a reason everyone loves him. There is a reason everyone respects him. And that, what happened yesterday, is just another reason on why Greek journalism will never prosper. Because 90% of it is paid. They're paid off. They serve someone. Unbiased journalism is rare. It's very rare. Like, to name a few people that I personally respect, to the moon and back. Let me actually make sure I don't mess up a name. Let me actually make sure I don't mess up a name. Yeah, okay. Because he's a friend of the show and I do take a lot of inspiration from his work. For example, Yorgos Xanakas is an incredible journalist. Mike Stefano, there's a reason he's in Barcelona, but he's one of the most unbiased, honest journalists I've seen. Of course, the man I googled to not mess up his last name, Stavros Liosis from Sport24. He's been doing some incredible work, some unbelievable stuff. Let me actually look up another name because I want to do justice to these people because they are some incredible journalists. They do represent what sport reporting should be like. Of course, the man that I did want to shout out also was Pavlos Sartouris, one of the most reliable people do everything Erasitechni, and the person I've quoted many times. Like people from Volleyland, people from Volley News, people from Sportal. There are people that I can mention, but for every one unbiased journalist and one that's honoring his work, and a lot of people that I do truly take inspiration from, there are 5 that are just placed there to spread division and just serve the bad, very, very bad goals of some people and some teams. I'm not gonna name sites, I'm not gonna name names, but you all know exactly the people I'm talking about. And it's sad. It's sad because this country could do so much with sports reporting, and it's really not for bad reasons. Again, very good question. Do you think that if we don't get a ticket for next season's Champions League, will this negatively affect transfers and by extension our next season? I do want your clarification. Do you mean that if we don't get Champions League, we won't be able to attract players? Or are we talking budget? Because I do have 2 relatively different answers depending on what you're asking, that ultimately lead to more or less the same the same conclusion. But I do want to know what path to take this question from, because it's a question that has sadly some very bad possibilities in regards to the summer and next season, because I've said this openly a lot of times. I've said this openly that I'm scared about next season. I will push behind any path this team takes, but I do really struggle to see any light of hope as things stand. But that's exactly why I want to do a recap and stuff, and to talk about transfers in more detail after the actual season. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I understood. Comment, of course. I mean, maybe we'll go for more modest options because we won't be able to reach / attract players. Yes and no is mainly my answer. Of course, you will be taken down a peg if you go to Europa. I don't even want to talk about Conference League. I don't think we get Conference. I think that the worst case scenario for Olympiacos next season is Europa League. If you do get knocked down a peg, yes. So you will miss some of the top players that do have the Champions League guarantee. But you still hold the Olympiacos name. And the plan would have been the same either way. And you can still attract some players, especially on the younger side, for a future Champions League guarantee, because you've proven that you can keep up in the competition with how stuff went this season as well. It's not like you've not seen the Champions League for years, like it had been for a while. So even if we get Europe, I don't think it will affect the plan that much. Sure, we'll miss some names and we'll go for some others, like you said, modest, younger perhaps, or on the other end as well, more veterans, like a name that's been said either way, which will probably be Stefan de Vrij, which I'm more than happy if such a legendary centre back comes in, as long as he's not the only one. But I don't think it will be as big of a change to the plan, if that makes sense. I hope I covered you off on that. But yeah, as we close off on the hour mark, I'm really happy that we did chat for an hour. I'm really happy a lot of stuff came up, because I really didn't know how the show was gonna go. I hope you all enjoyed. I really do hope you all enjoyed to the fullest. I hope I provided you with some necessary company for the result we've seen and the stuff we've had to look at. And now, once again, it's EuroLeague time. Tomorrow, of course, handball time as well. Two very important games into very important sports. Tomorrow, two games that there is a difference in confidence in because I do think that we will get a win tomorrow and close out the series in the EuroLeague, knock on wood, and we will have to wait and see what happens with the rest. Even though I really, EuroLeague wise, I won't get too much into it. Don't worry, I won't keep you for that much longer. EuroLeague wise, I've said that I see 3 clean sweeps coming through, and either Hapoel or Zalgiris getting a game. Like I don't see any game 5. We may very well have 4 clean sweeps. I don't see any game 5s. That's the main thing that I'm more or less 100% sure of. And of course, handball, in which we lost the first final, and we really need to pick up a win tomorrow. So I'll see you all soon. I'll see you all probably Wednesday, like usual, for a game recap for the EuroLeague. And for everything else you may need, you can go down in the description, follow, like, subscribe, whichever platform you are listening on. We're hitting milestones left, right, and center. So I'm very, very thankful for that. I feel like we're 30 something subs away here from 500, which is nuts once again. So yeah, as always, we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.